Well, I don't know. The question is, the eyes are not gone. Would you still be going back to get card now?
I think so. Maybe. Pretty sure. So, the age situation, the wife is that ready.
Okay. Funny.
Bob.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Come on. Give you the other one, okay?
Yeah.
Starting none sign.
It's with the last few words on Nun Zayin Amud Beis. Mamish, the last few words. Amar Rabbi Barachana. The last line. Bottom line. A couple of words.
Is there any other Agadita in Gittin?
Which is amazing. I mean, we three people and they disappear.
There's multi-uses. It's a God is guilt. Getting has a multifaceted. I mean, not only is the God is, but what they say about getting.
Yes.
The mark could be for the poor. You know what the next percent is? Kedusha.
That's right.
So,
Getting first, then
instead of preparing you.
Okay. But, gentlemen, what's cooking there?
What's cooking?
They're coming?
No, I mean.
Lots of the dog and b'chol matam.
That's right. I'm in.
That's what he says.
Rabos, I should wait for you.
Okay, my good cheer is ready.
Gentlemen. All right, I'm going to start.
Okay.
At the very bottom line. Yeah, just again, you see again, like we have for the last 2 days, you see that the rabbis cannot tell the terrible tragedy of the Churban without the great heroism of the Jews. It doesn't come separately. The stories are interspersed. The great tragedy that Hashem brought up, that Hashem unfortunately brought about, at the same time, the great heroism of the Jewish people in remaining faithful to Hashem despite everything. So Amar Rabbi Barachana Rabbi Yochanan, our boim saw they found 40 saws of tzitzit tefillin of the housings of tefillin. They found 40 saw on the heads of the people who killed in Beitan. Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yishmael Amar, it says shlosh kupos. Our boim saw no, it was much more. It was 3 boxes of 40 saw each. Masisa Tana, and the Mishnah also, even though it calculates a different way, the same amount. Our boim kupos shalosh 40 chests, okay, of 3 saw each. But there's no argument. Now, make up your mind. One was a much smaller amount. So what is it? It says hard the ratio, hard the dara. The answer is the larger amount because they were counting the amount of tefillin shalosh. Tefillin shalosh by them. I also they tend to make the tefillin today. They like everything symmetrical.
Consistent.
Yeah, so they make the tefillin shayad and tefillin shalosh the same size. Even though you don't need the same size box for tefillin shayad as you need for shalosh. Shalosh has 4 compartments. The tefillin shayad has only 1 compartment. So the tefillin shayad was small. So it says hadaration. The bigger number was because they were counting tefillin shaloshes. Hadadar, and the smaller number was the number for tefillin shayad. Amr Basaboy Kabim Mochanin Sol Eben Echos. They found 40 cobs of brains on one rock where they killed the children. And during the first, this is during the first Korban. Okay, Ula Amar Tisha Kab. They found 9 cob. Okay, okay, my Quran, where's the pasuk that shows it? Because when they're cursing, so to speak, the pasuk is cursing Babel. It says Bas Babel Shduda, the daughter of Babel who is spoiled, despoiled. Ashrei Sheshelech V'Gomer. Happy is the one who's going to pay back to you what you did to the Jews. Do to you. Ashrei Sheyochaz D'Mini Patzal Alayich. Happy is the one who grabs and smashes your babies on the rock. Metzio. Now this is a funny passage. It's hard to translate. At first glance, it looks like that the precious Jewish children, precious Jews, who are covered in paz, covered in a very precious stone.
Which there is only two of.
My Masulayim bepaz. What does it mean that they're covered in this precious stone? Gemara says, if you want to translate it the simple way, that they're covered with this precious stone, it's impossible because there was only two very tiny measures of paz in the whole world. There wasn't enough to cover them. There was one measure was in Rome, and one measure was spread out in the rest of the world. Ella, you have to say what? It means rather to say what? That these Jewish people are finer than paz. Ella paz. They would denigrate paz. The finest the decoration would be denigrated by the beauty of the Jews. Mikara Chashivi de Romai, okay, Bilyona de Gushpanka, Habinaki Bishpanta, Mashamshe Arsayu. It's known that when women look at a beautiful visage, when they have intercourse, they have beautiful children. So the Romans knew the trick, and they would take the signet ring with a beautiful engraving on it, and they would leave it there for their wives to see while they were having intercourse. But once the Jews, the Jewish boys were much more handsome. They would take Jewish boys and they would tie them to the bedpost and let the woman look at them and have beautiful children. And they'd have intercourse and women have beautiful children. So one of these Jewish boys said to the other one, he said, this punishment must have been predicted. He says, so I have to see with this punishment that we have to be debased this way. Where was it written in the Torah? Where was it foretold? He said to him, and the clothes, Hashem says, is going to put all every type of illness or every type of smiting, even when it's not written in the Torah. He said that was referring to this, that Jewish boys would be debased by being tied to the beds of the Romans while having intercourse. So he said to him, where am I'm up to in the Torah? How far am I from that pasuk? He said to him, in God Pusta Opalga. He says, you're very close. He said, just a column and a half away. He said to him, he said, had I reached the pasuk, I wouldn't have needed you. I would have understood myself that was referring to this, what happened to us. He said, my dichti, what's the pasuk? It says, Eini ola los anashim v'kol benos iri. Well, Eini ola nafshi v'kol benos iri. My eye was a pain to me more than all the daughters of my city. There were 400 shuls in the city of Beitar. Because each shul had 400 teachers of children. Yeah. And every one of those guys had 400 kids. Every 400 teachers in every school, each one had 400 students. When the Goyim came in to hurt the Jews, the Jews would take their sticks and poke the Romans. But when the Goyim took over, when the Goyim got strong and they conquered Beitar, they wrapped up all of these students in the scrolls, in their own scrolls, and they burnt them. He went to the great city in Rome. And they said to him, there's a Jewish kid in jail, a beautiful eyes, and very good looking. And his hair is up in curls. So he stood by the doorway, and he said a pasuk. He's going to see from the pasuk who's going to respond. So he said a pasuk. He said, "Mina son of Meshisa Yaakov Yisrael Bosman." Who's going to put for plundering Yaakov? Who's going to put for spoiling Yisrael? It says, "Ona osa tinuk v'amar." So that kid was in there. He heard him start the pasuk. The kid knew the whole navi. So the kid finished the pasuk that the rabbi started. Hello Hashem, zu chatanu. Okay, this is Hashem, and we've sinned against. We didn't want to go in his ways. We didn't listen to it. Amar, so that when the rabbi saw that this kid answered him, knew the pasuk that he began, he said, he says, I know this kid is going to pass kind halachas amongst the Jewish people. Havod, he says, by the temple service, Shani Zazmi Khan, he said, I'm not going to budge from here. I'm going to redeem him for whatever they ask, for whatever they charge. Amrus, and they said, he didn't budge until he redeemed him for a lot of money. And it was only a few days to this kid Pascal Dalachas in Israel. Mano, who was he? He was Yishmael ben Elisha. During the Second World War, there were righteous goyim who took Jewish children and protected them during the war from the Nazis, and then they gave the children back. They were holy and righteous unrighteous people. They're gonna, they're gonna get. Yeah, they're gonna get tremendous reward. There's no question about it. But there were goyim who were not so pure, and they took Jewish children intending to kidnap them. And there were children in a certain convent in Holland, and Rabbi Grunfeld, who was a dayan in London, in England, he believed that this convent was holding Jewish children and not admitting it. And they came for some reason. This convent with the children came to England, and he was convinced. He asked them for a list of names, but all the names were Goyish names, and he didn't trust it. What did he do? So he went there during dinner time, and he started walking up and down the tables, and he started singing Hamalach HaGoel Osi, what the Jewish people say with their children when they put them to sleep at night. And the kids ran up and started grabbing his pants, and they cried, "Mama, Mama!" They were crying for their mother. The kids came up to grab him. He knew that they were Jewish. And the interesting is, he knew. Well, what's a little kid going to remember? A little kid remember that they put him to sleep. They told him Shema.
Shema Yisrael.
Yeah.
Their eyes.
The kids ran up. So certain things Baruch Hashem, people.
Rav Silva did that. He went into the churches of the Catholics.
Exactly. Who knows? One might have learned from the other. It might have been a known trick among the rabbis.
No, Rabbi Silver said Shema. He said Hamalach HaGoel.
Yeah, he said Hamalach HaGoel.
Yeah.
Also, you have to know what goes on in different places. The Gaon of Vilna, who was really, it's really hard to grasp that even exists. And when I say that, it's not because of the stories, it's because if you read what he wrote, it's hard to believe that once you see what he saw, it's clear. But it's hard to believe that anybody could have seen what he saw. It's in black and white. Yeah, it's really unbelievable. So one time, the Gaon, when he was younger, the rabbis in those days had a certain custom. They would travel. It did a few things. It put them under certain hardships, allowed them to see how other people serve God. When he was younger, he came to a certain place and he stayed at a certain home, and the little girl needed to be put to sleep, and he helped to put the girl to sleep, and he sang her a lullaby. And in that lullaby, it was a Yiddish lullaby, and one of the verses it said, "Oh, right away, I'm going to get you chassan. Go to sleep, and right now, right by and by, I'm going to get you chassan." Years later, when the girl had grown, she was old enough to get married, a young man showed up at the door with a letter from the Gaon of Vilna. So he gives it to the parents, and the father looks at the letter, and the letter, it says, the Gaon of Vilna writes to the father, he says, "You're not obligated." He says, "But if you want to consider it, in my opinion, this would be a very good chassan for your daughter." What was the reason? The reason was because even though he was only singing a lullaby, once the words came out of his mouth, he felt he has to fulfill them. Since he said to the girl, "I'm going to get you a chassan," so he sent her a chassan. Well, nice, they got married. It all worked out. Amar Yudam Rav. Okay, Yehuda Rav says, the son and the daughter separately of Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha were taken captive by two different goyim. The Yamin Nizdavdu Shneim. One day, the two owners, the two different captors, met each other in one place. They came to one place. The master of the son, he said, "Listen, I got a slave that there's nobody in the world as handsome as him." He says, "I have a maidservant. There's nobody's beautiful her in the whole world." So they said, "Listen, let's do business. Let's marry them to each other. We'll split the kids because they're going to be beautiful." So they put him into one room. So they were very modest children. So this one stayed in one corner.
And they didn't know each other.
This one sat in the other corner. This one said, "Ani Kohen ben Kohanim." This one said, he said, "I'm the son of a Kohen, son of Kohanim. I'm gonna marry a maidservant." There's also and she, the daughter, she says, "Ani Kohenes bas Kohenes bas Kohanim Gedolim." He says, "I'm a Kohenes, the daughter of Kohanim Gedolim." And I said, "11, I'm going to be married to a slave." They both didn't want to go to the other one who they thought was a slave. They cried all night. Came Shalom on a Shachar when the daylight came. Ikira says they recognized their brother and sister. They recognized it to each other. And they fell upon each other and they cried bitterly until they died. So from such despair. But and Yirmiyah, we can see in the pasuk that he anticipated this and he mourned about them and he said, "On these I cry, Eini, my eyes, my eyes, my eyes, water comes down." Amresh Lakish, he says there was once a certain woman, but Sofnas bas Paniel Shmar. Her name was Sofnas, the daughter of Paniel. And it was really a pun because she came from the Kohen Gadol. Sofnas, what does that mean? Sofnas shakol Sofnas, but everybody looks at her beauty. Bas Paniel, what is where Paniel from being in the inner place? Bito Shekohen Gadol, Sheshimesh Lifneim. She was the daughter of the Kohen Gadol who served God in the most innermost sanctum. So the guy who captured her debased her all night long. In the daytime, he put on her 7 garments. And he took her out to sell her. A certain man came who was very ugly. He came, Amarlo, and he said to him, show me how beautiful she is. You're selling, let's see how pretty she is. Amarlo, he said to him, Reka, he said, you bum. He says, idiot. He says, you want to take her, take her. She's no more beautiful than all. You want to buy her, buy, otherwise leave me alone. He says, I don't care. He says, I got to see how pretty she is first. If Shita, Shisha Chalukim, so the owner took off 7 of her garments. Ushvi, the 7th one, she herself, Karatah, she ripped it, but it's Palshabefer, and she rolled in the dust. Amr Lefana, but she said in front of Rebbe Shalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, she's Little Chasafta. If you don't have mercy on us, but why are you not going to have mercy on your great name? You have to show that you see the debasement of your children. But Yirmiyah also he anticipated and he mourned for her and he said sorry, Bas Ami Chigri Sak is the daughter of my people. Wear sackcloth, these Palshi Befer and roll in the dust. Able Yachid Aselach, make the mourning for an only child. Mispei Tamrum, a bitter eulogy. Because suddenly the spoiler is going to come upon us. You notice it said Alayach Lanem. It didn't say what. It's going to come upon you, individual. Aleinu, upon us. What is us? Kaviyachol, as if the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, Alayach Basha. The spoiler is coming both upon me and upon you. What? Even upon Hashem, because he is disgracing God's name. Amar B'Domarav. My dichtiv ashku gar basically so they ripped off a man. And his household, and each man his property. There was once a guy who was attracted to his masters. He was an apprentice. He was attracted to his master's wife. He was a carpenter's apprentice. So one time it came out that the master needed to borrow money. So the apprentice said to him, "Send your wife to me. Well, then I'll give her the loan." Shiger Ishta, so he sent his wife, okay, and she he kept her for 3 days by him, and then when the master saw that his wife's not returning, called him a voice later. He got up and he went to him. Amar said, my wife that I sent you, where is she? Amar says, he said, wait a minute, I sent her back immediately. I said, I let her go immediately. Okay, but I heard young men lived improperly with her. Amar Los, he said to him, I said, what am I going to do? Amar Los, he said to me, to see. If you want to hear my advice, Gersha, divorce her. Amar Los, he said to him, so what's the movie? So what do you mean? The ksuba was very expensive. I can't afford to divorce this woman. Amali said, I'll lend you the money. But saying, look, Ksuba saying, I'll lend you the money, you can pay off for Ksuba. Ahmad Zebegirsha, so the master went and he divorced her. Halachu, when he saw him, then the apprentice went and he married him. Kevichi gives mano when it came time for the master to pay the debt below higher level party, didn't have money to pay back. Amarlo, so the apprentice said to him, okay, come work for me, you'll work off your debt. So Mount Rachmanis, the apprentice and the wife that he stole from the master are eating and drinking. And the master, Rachmanis, is there pouring their drink. The most notions man up enough because the tears would fall from his face and from his eyes and fall into their cup. Also shown about that terrible moment. Nachdim the did. Okay, that became the reason why all these other cities were destroyed. Some people say, or simply the fate was sealed because of the adultery that was done. Now, I want to come back, and we're gonna have to. It's a little arithmetic essentially, but we have to remember we had 2 rules with this recon. We're back to business, and that is that in the time when we feel that the Jewish person, didn't give it over. There's nothing you do. When you buy it, you can't buy it. You have to give it back to the Jew, period. And the only thing is, what you can do is there's a way to appease the Jew. Okay, if the Jew really wants to. But otherwise, the Jew has the right to get it back because he didn't really want to give it over. And that's the way we do. But later they made a different rule. And that was that that was that it would wait 12 months, okay, and then you could buy it and pay back the Jew who was stolen from 1/4, because that was the guy would sell it for a quarter discount. So if you pay the Jew the money you made, that was sufficient, and you didn't have to. But you had to give the guy 12 months. But before 12 months, you had to let a guy have a chance to buy it back. So he says. So now he said, "Look, this week if you bought." When we said that if you went to the marauder first and then went to the Jew's giving you the acquisition was nothing. He didn't really mean it. He just did it because he was afraid of the guy or figures he'll get it back from you. He says, but when is that true? He says only. Rav said it's only. He said lechazekani. It's only when he said he didn't give him any paper. He said, listen, go do one of the kinyanim. If I buy a field from you, I can dig in it. I can plow it a little bit. I can open up a new doorway. I can lock the door. There's different ways I can make a kinyan, but he didn't give him a paper. But once the Jew gave him a paper, then even in the earlier case, then the Jew who bought the field can keep it. The Jew really gave it to him. Shmuel said no. Even the paper is not sufficient. And he says, even if the Jew was stolen from gave a paper to the Jew saying it's his, Nami Lokana, he still hasn't acquired it. Until he writes, listen, and if any lien comes upon the land that I give you, I will be responsible for you. The truth is, we learned a brisa that backs up Shmuel that until you give a paper plus a guarantee, the Jew still hasn't really given it to the Jew that bought it, and the Jew that was stolen from can get it back. Because we learned, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Lakach ben Isha, in the similar case, remember the case of buying the woman's rights was the same as buying the field from the Jew who was stolen from by the secret code. He says if he bought, the husband sold the land, and the guy bought it from the buyer, and then he went back and bought from the wife her lien on the land. It's no good. But if Lakach Beisha, if he first bought the rights of the land from the woman, then he went back and bought it from the man. Okay, then we said Mekal Kaim. It's a good deal. And we said Menaish Chazar, but if he bought it from the man and it goes back by the rights of the woman, Mekal Bata, it's not good because she didn't really want to give it. It says Ad Shirtav Lachrayis. But how is it good? Until she writes Achrayis. So you see clearly, like Shmuel, that not only does she have to give a paper, she has to give a paper plus a guarantee. I name it to the Rav. So that's a kasha to Rav. Rav said, looks like a knockout blow. Rav said, all you need is a paper, no guarantee. Rav said, you make a mistake. The words don't mean what you said. My achrayus nami shtar. There, when it said the word achrayus, it's not the achrayus that we talk about classically, that it's a paper plus a guarantee against a lien. I just meant to say that it was final. Achrayus means what? That it's final. If I give a paper, I can't renege on the deal. Whatever I said, I have to keep. You only meant achrayus responsibility in the sense that you can't renege. So it's not really a kasha. Tanur we didn't know that you could read. We didn't know that you could read the words that way. Tanur Rabbanan, we learned in the brayso. Lokach when a sweekon the achla shloshah b'fnei baal. Now it's when it makes sense. We have a rule of chazaka, not like in America. There are no squatters' rights in the Torah. Only in the Goyish law is squatters' rights. Jews have no squatters' rights. There's no such thing. If you squat on somebody's property, if you squat on somebody's property for 1,000,000 years, it's not yours. We have no squatters' rights in Jewish law. What we do have is something different. In Jewish law, occupancy without a challenge can support a claim. And that's the difference. In other words, if a guy says, I lived in this land for 100 years, so what? It's not yours. Well, who cares? But if I say that I bought this land, but I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have the deed anymore. But the fact that I lived here for 3 years without protest shows that supports my claim that I bought the land. That works. That the Torah says yes. So in general, that's the rule. If I have unchallenged occupancy, then even though I can't back up my good claim that I bought the land, we believe that I bought the land from the guys. If a person bought from the Tzvikon, and then he lived on the land while the owner saw it for 3 years without protest, and then he went and he sold it to somebody else, to a second Jew. So the guy was stolen from can't claim anything back, any payment back from the second guy who bought the field. You can't come back a quarter. What are you going to get? He says, says the price makes no sense. What are you talking about? Either katayin, okay, if the second guy, if the first guy, if the guy who bought it says, listen, what do you mean? He says, I bought it from you. I paid you the money it cost to pay. I said, I feel we should nami. Then even the first guy has no claim on. But he's the local katayin, and what if he doesn't claim? Okay, and if he doesn't claim, we don't say that I bought it from you. I feel shani nami though. That even the second guy has no protection. The second guy has no rights to the thing because the first guy never bought it. It says Amar Sheshis Olam the Lokotoin. Don't worry. It's where he doesn't claim. It's an interesting case. He doesn't have a legitimate claim that he paid the money. Or could go on that, but the only thing is like this. Even though guy number 2 is not claiming that guy number 1 actually bought it. No, so he said Mimanasha. Either there's a claim the first guy bought it and the second guy can have it. If there's no claim the first guy bought it, even the first guy can't have it. So why did you differentiate between the first and the second? The answer is that even though normally, if I don't claim I bought it, my having occupied the property is nothing, has no meaning. But the answer is the second guy, ironically, even though he can't claim, he doesn't know, he can't claim that the first guy bought it, the Beis Din makes a claim for him. We have a rule that when a second buyer, even though the first buyer, if he did make a legitimate claim, his uncontested occupancy is meaningless. But but a second guy can use the uncontested occupancy of the first guy, even though he can't make the claim. Why? Because the court makes the claim on his behalf. Because we learned, we have a rule that the second buyer, even though they can't make that claim, the Beis Din on their behalf, it's reasonable, the Beis Din on their behalf makes a claim for the sake of a second buyer or an inheritor. What about the first guy? Okay, he says the first guy, there's no way out. Unless if he makes an honest claim that I bought it from you, okay, he can get it. But the other time he does make that claim low, and his occupancy has no meaning whatsoever, only by the goyim.
And it comes back anyway.
Only
at Yovel, so it
only by the
doesn't
goyim.
matter really.
Tana Rabbana, we learned.
The concept of shalosh asharim chazaka.
So the chazaka means that it gives you legs to stand on when you made a legitimate claim. I bought the property, but I don't have the deed anymore. So I said, listen, even though I really should, I can't prove it without a deed, but the fact that I lived here for 3 years without him protesting, it supports my claim that I bought it from him. I don't have the deed anymore. But if I claim I just squatted, it's meaningless. There's no such thing. You cannot get people's land by squatting on it. It's not yours. It's somebody. What do you mean? How'd you get it? What did it fall out of heaven? If you didn't buy it, it's not yours.
In the United States, there's no squatters' rights either. It's just hard to get rid of them.
Yeah. In Israel, they do have it.
What?
In Israel, there's squatters' rights, and not only this, squatters' rights. Listen to this. In Israel, I lived in Israel most of my life. So Israel is the world. You're not going to find sharper. Every trick in the world happens in Israel. Every trick in the world. So the classic trick in Israel when I came was like this: if you want to grab it, because remember everything was a land grab. The Karen Kayemet Israel, they were land grabbers. They didn't own that. They grabbed it. What do they call in English? The Jewish National Fund. They were land grabbers. They didn't buy that land. They grabbed it. They decided that they owned all the land in Israel. And started giving it to people. So everything in Israel was a land grab. When the Jews got there in the 1800s, everybody's grabbing whatever they get a hold of, they grabbed. So a classic case in Israel when I came was like this: you didn't own the property, so what do you do? You want to own the property. You put your friend on it and you have him pay you rent. Then when the thing comes to court, you show. I show rent payments for the last 3 years. I've been collecting rent. It's classic. You don't know they don't use it anymore. It's called asiyat uvdot in Hebrew. Making facts. That was a classic Israeli rule, creating facts. Yes, that's how you do it. You create a fact, and then you move forward from there.
We do that in this country too
now.
They're
smart.
No, I mean we create facts. We don't like the facts. We create our own.
Here they actually produce something that backs up. That's a classic trick. Okay. Furthermore, okay. So now, what happens when there's a lesser degree of danger? Okay, how do we deal with this law of property taken by goyim? Tana Rabbanan. Haba machmasov. If the truth is that the goy only took the Jew's land because he owed him money, umachmas anpar, so he just took it because he had strength. He just grabbed it, but he's not killing him. Ein bo mishum sikrikon. There's no rule of sikrikon. What does that mean to say? If somebody buys it after 12 months, okay, he can't pay him a quarter. He has to give it back for free. Okay, why? Because when it came, there was a secret cone where the sale was the guy was forced. The sale was really a sale. Okay, but over here it's not really true. So now the next line is self-contradictory. It says Vamparas Atzmo, when he took it just because he had the strength. You have to wait 12 months. it has to stay 12 months. So the Gemara said, you said, what? There's no rule of 12 months. The whole thing doesn't work. You have to give it back. Why are you saying that? Gemara says, you're right. This is what I meant to say. But Sikrikon, in a real case of Sikrikon, like we said, where there's really a real threat, and we said that the Jew's sale to the Goy really is a good sale, then he has to wait a year before he tries to buy it. Otherwise, it goes back to the original buyer, the original Jew who was stolen from. I'm Rabbi Yosef. Yosef said, "What? Goyim do not forcibly take fields in Babel." I said, "What do you mean? Well, they do take them. We see it happens. What are you talking about?" Rather, this is what he said: "Ain't din on Paras Babel. The rule of Amparas and Babel doesn't apply. You know, if the Goy took land forcibly and a Jew bought it, he does not have to give it back to the other Jew. Why? Why does he have to give it back? The Jew wasn't really giving it away. My time, the reason is came to Ika Beidavar, since in Babel the Goyish courts function, they work, and the Jew didn't go to the Goyish court to get it back. So it's clear that the Jew himself, right? It's clear that the Jew himself let it go, and it's clear that the Jew himself let it go. Now, one more I got to say. So there was a story like this. There used to be places where before the government would charge, let's say there was a place, a valley with 10 fields, and the goyim would charge, let's say, $10 a field, $10 a field of taxes,
land tax.
$10 a field. They would charge everybody. So the Jews had an agreement that each guy who had a plot would pay his part. You'd pay each year. You'd pay your $10. We paid $10. If the whole valley was fined $100, so each Jew would pay $10 each year, and that would give them the rights to get benefit from the field. What happened once, Gila Bari Ali, the certain man, what happened was that one of the real owners, let's say owner number 6, he went away. So the rest of the people of the valley said, listen, he goes away, we have a right to give it to you. Here, you'll pay for guy number 6, and you'll get for these years, you'll until he comes back, you'll get the benefit from the deal. So instead of paying 1 year, though, he paid 3 years. He paid $30. He said, no, I'll pay 3 years already, leave me alone. But then what happened was, after 1 year, he'd only used up $10 of his payment. After 1 year, the original owner came back, and the original owner always has the right to go back to his field. Amrle, so the people said to Gidol, the Hafta, he says, the first year you gave, you got benefit. But now we're paying again, so to speak. We're not you, we're paying again for the taxes, because the Goyim didn't let two different owners exist on the same payments. Even though Gidol paid for year 2, they had to pay again for year 2, once a new owner came back. So he says, so now he wanted the money back. He says, what do you mean? I want my money back. So they came in front of Rav Papa. So he thought he's going to let this guy get his money back from the people of the valley. Rav Papa said, no, you can't get your money back. He said, why? He says, you can't if you let him get his money back. You're claiming it's the same din as secret code. It was a real sale they gave up, and he gets his money back. I'm sorry. So this guy, like a guy who threw away his money, put his money on the horn of a deer, he threw his money away. Now, hold your hat on for this last piece. It's there. Everybody is saying the same thing with different numbers. Okay, please remember what I just said. In the end, it's going to be the same thing with different numbers. In other words, the criteria is going to change, but otherwise everything's going to be the same. Okay, we said Zubish Rishonim. We said that when we learned the Mishnah, that was the original decree of how we paid, when going to the land forcibly. Based in Shalach Re'em Amru, the later based in said, if you buy from the secret cones, you pay back the original owner 1/4. Why? Because the owner really gave it to the secret cone, but you shouldn't get the benefit. So you get back, since they sell a discount of 1/4, you pay him the 1/4 and you're done. Amar Rav said, now be careful. Ravia Bakarka or Via Mamos. Either way, you can use land or you can use cash, but it's 1/4 of the price, okay, that was paid. So it's 1/4 of the price that was paid. Okay, remember what I just said. You can pay land or you can pay in cash, but it's 1/4 of the price that was paid that you pay back to the original owner. Shmuel Amai said no. He says, Ravia Bakarka Shein Shlish Mamos. You give back 1/4 of the land, which was only 1/3 of the money paid. Now, it says he paid back 1/4 of the money paid, Rav, or 1/3 of the money paid, Shmuel. But what's the argument? The argument is like this. Shmuel who said what? That you're paying back 1/3 of the money paid. He holds Nechi Revi Azavim. He holds that they discount, like I said to you, 1/4. So if the
But
field was
one quarter
if the
of
field was if the field was 100, and the guy sold it for a discount of 75. So how much did the guy make? 25. So he's paying back the 25, which is a third of what? A third of the money paid. So Shmuel said you pay back a quarter of the field, a third of the money. Okay, a third of 77, a third of 75 is 25, which is a quarter of the original what? A quarter of the original 100. But Rav, they hold the same principle. Rav saw says he holds no. The guy sells for a fifth less. So, for example, so if the field was 125, then he sold the field for what?
100.
For 100. So how much did you make? 25. So what do you pay back? A quarter of the money paid. You see, it's exactly the same thing. But they didn't agree on the facts of whether the guy was selling for a fifth less or for a quarter less. But it's the same thing. Either way, you're always paying back what you're paying the discount you're paying to the original owner the discount that the guy gave to you. Macy, they said, do Mishnah Rishona. I said, that's the first Mishnah. Okay, we said in the end, but later said they give a quarter. The Balim Elyon, they give a quarter, and the Balim have the advantage, the original owner. Ratzah Karka, no, the Ratzah Mos, if he wants to give it land, he takes it. And Ratzah Mos, and if the owner wants to get money, no, they get money. Amosai, when is that true? That's when the owner doesn't have money to buy it. If the original owner has his own money to buy it, they win. You can't buy it and pay them off. You got to let the original owner buy it back. Rabbi Hoshi Basin in there. We said Basin later on. Rabbi made a Basin, and they counted. And he said, if they secret come, once it stayed by the secret come 12 months, then even if the guy's money, you have a right to take it. Once you got to wait 12 months, you can buy it. I will know some buy review of a karka. You have to give him a quarter, which is
the value,
a land in the quarter of the value. Okay, or review of a karka, a quarter of the land, or a quarter in money. Now, so you're seeing that what? So you see, it's a quarter of the money it's a quarter of the money that he gave to the guy, okay, or land. Okay, so that's a kasha to Shmuel because he says what? You're only giving a third of the money that was given to the guy.
The same thing.
Ravashi says no. Kitanya, he ultimately says you're making a mistake. It really meant from in this case they really meant from the true total. Okay, most the other when he got the total money. So therefore, again, it was just two different languages meaning the same thing. We'll call that a daf. Everyone have a wonderful day. Yay!
That's also with all of the chamesh, if you're to Meila, they have this
wonderful
argument. Every time they have the same argument.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Yasher Koach.
Pleasure. God bless. A great day. Have a wonderful day. All right, Rabbi.
So I'll tell you this fabulous story.
Yeah.
My son was the posek,
Yeah.
But with Shlomo Miller, was
from
the
Canada.
Adam Chashuv of the whole country.
Yeah.
So the Mashgiach, the Rav Hamachshir actually of the Vaad in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So my son put out